Turns out, business trip to Dubai is just corporate speak, for my husband is having an affair with his secretary, and I'm about to crash their party. And by crash their party, I mean I bought a ticket for the seat right between them. Coincidences, right? They're just marvelous. You know that moment when your life suddenly becomes a premium subscription to a reality show you never auditioned for? Yeah, that was last Thursday for me. Mallory Goldstein, 41, social media manager for a startup that sells artisanal vegan serums. My brand is passive-aggressive intensity. My hobbies include true crime podcasts, and my preferred method of problem-solving involves elaborate plans hatched over a meticulously brewed flat white on my Cherry Hills Village balcony. My husband, Clyde Goldstein, 43, a hedge fund financial analyst whose idea of casual wear is a designer polo even for a Trader Joe's run, specializes in blasé excuses and assuring me that all his numbers are just projections. Apparently, that also applies to his marital fidelity. The morning started like any other Thursday in our intimidatingly perfect gated community, where the biggest drama usually involves a bear raiding Mrs. Henderson's bird feeder or a heated debate on the Nextdoor app about who's responsible for the rogue sprinkler head. Clyde was droning on about the nuanced difference between a flat white and a latte, a conversation as thrilling as watching paint dry, but somehow less colorful. I was scrolling through Nextdoor where Sheldon Pratt, our 67-year-old retired doorman and my unwitting confidant in all things neighborhood gossip, had just posted a cryptic warning about another damn bear trying to get into the pool area. Sheldon, a man who dispenses advice like it's straight from the Brooklyn of the 80s, is a walking, talking, passive-aggressive judgment machine, and I love him for it. But something was off. Clyde's smile, usually a well-rehearsed smirk of financial superiority, was a little too eager, a little too projected, and his sudden, fervent interest in Middle Eastern cultures, that was a red flag the size of a Target superstore. Clyde, whose idea of cultural immersion is ordering pad thai from the same place every Tuesday, was now spouting facts about the Burj Khalifa like he was auditioning for a travel documentary. Meanwhile, Tiffany Rupp, 28, Clyde's secretary and a night student in biotechnology, had started posting Instagram stories with suspiciously vague backgrounds. Lots of good vibes only and don't let anyone dim your sparkle quotes, but zero geotags. Classic. It was Clyde's third attempt to spin this business trip to Dubai yarn that really sealed the deal. He forgot the time difference, butchered the pronunciation of Burj Khalifa so badly it sounded like a new energy drink, and then, the pièce de résistance. He shared a Spotify playlist with me, titled Desert Vibes, which I immediately recognized as Tiffany's curated collection of obscure Arabic pop. Just to get in the mood for the culture, honey, he'd said, trying to sound nonchalant, but his eyes were darting around like a squirrel caught in a Home Depot. My internal alarm bells, usually reserved for spotting fake designer bags, were blaring like a fire truck on I-25 during rush hour. I didn't need a true crime podcast to solve this mystery. My gut, honed by years of sniffing out BS from brand managers, was screaming. And then, as if the universe itself was handing me a mic, Sheldon Pratt delivered the final, perfectly timed piece of intel. I was grabbing my mail, and he was watering the petunias, looking like he'd just won a lottery he hadn't entered. "Mallory?" he drawled, his voice a gravelly whisper. "Saw a little blonde gal. Looked like that Tiffany from your husband's office, getting a ride to the airport this morning. Maserati? White, expensive suit at the wheel. Real early, too. Must be a big client meeting." He winked, a knowing glint in his eye that suggested he'd seen this movie before, probably in black and white. A Maserati. A white Maserati. Clyde's white Maserati. My white Maserati, technically, since my name was on the lease. The pieces clicked into place with the satisfying thud of a perfectly executed plan. My husband, the man who meticulously tracked every penny, was spending a fortune on a clandestine trip to Dubai with his secretary, using my car, and then lying about it with the grace of a toddler trying to hide a cookie. The audacity. The sheer, unadulterated gall. My first thought wasn't tears, or screaming, or throwing his designer polos into the pool. My first thought was, How can I make this into the most inconvenient, humiliating, and utterly unforgettable experience of his life? And then, a brilliant, terrifying, utterly Mallory-esque idea sparked. I pulled out my phone, opened a flight booking app, and with a smirk that would make a cat look innocent, I searched for Clyde's flight. Denver to Dubai. Emirates. Executive class, naturally. There it was. Flight EK204, departing tomorrow morning. And then, with a click that felt like the start of a new chapter in my personal true crime saga, I bought a ticket. Seat 7A. Right smack dab in the middle of Clyde Goldstein and Tiffany Rupp. Because, as I always say, the coincidences of life often turn out to be quite marvelous, don't they? The scroll-stopping moment had arrived. The stage was set. And Clyde and Tiffany had no idea they were about to be the unwitting stars of my new, highly viral, revenge comedy travelogue. Get ready, Dubai. Mallory Goldstein is coming, and she's bringing the popcorn. The next morning, Denver International Airport's Gate 42B was buzzing with the usual pre-flight chaos. Tired business travelers, excited tourists, and me, Mallory Goldstein, looking like I'd just rolled out of bed, which technically I had. My ensemble, a faded college hoodie emblazoned with wife-mom legend. The mom part was aspirational, but it added to the irony. Sweatpants and a pair of worn-out sneakers. I clutched a venti Starbucks latte like it was my emotional support animal. The goal? To appear utterly, blissfully unaware. A happy little accident. Just a gal off to Dubai for a spontaneous wellness retreat. I spotted them immediately, nestled in the plush seating of the Emirates Executive Class lounge, looking like they'd stepped straight out of a glossy travel magazine. Clyde, in a crisp navy suit that probably cost more than my mortgage payment, was attempting to look suave while scrolling through his phone. Tiffany, in a perfectly tailored cream pantsuit, her blonde hair impossibly shiny, was giggling at something on her own phone. Her, "Don't let anyone dim your sparkle," energy radiating like a supernova. They were a tableau of illicit romance, framed by the promise of duty-free luxury. I took a deep breath, adjusted my hoodie, and strode towards them with the casual confidence of someone who's just found a $20 bill in an old coat pocket. Clyde looked up, his eyes scanning the lounge, then landed on me. His face, usually a masterclass in controlled indifference, went through a rapid-fire series of expressions: confusion, disbelief, dawning horror, and finally, a sort of desperate, wide-eyed panic. He almost choked on his own latte. It was glorious. "Mallory?" he spluttered, his voice cracking like a teenager's. Tiffany, meanwhile, had gone from giggling to a deer-in-headlights stare, her perfectly Instagrammable smile dissolving into a horrified "Mal," whispered into her phone to some unfortunate friend. The tension in that executive class lounge thickened faster than a Colorado blizzard. It was better than any Bravo TV reality show, and I had front row seats. "Clyde, honey, what a surprise," I chirped, my voice dripping with saccharine sweetness, leaning in to give him a peck on the cheek. He flinched like I'd just offered him a kale smoothie. "And Tiffany, fancy seeing you here? Are you two off to the same conference? Small world, isn't it?" I beamed, my eyes twinkling with an almost maniacal delight. Tiffany could only manage a weak, "Hi, Mallory." "Yeah, small world." Her usual sparkle had definitely dimmed, more like a flickering nightlight. I pulled out my phone, opened my Instagram, and began narrating a story, my voice a conspiratorial whisper. "Okay, guys, so you know how I've been talking about needing a spontaneous getaway? Well, guess who I just ran into at DIA Gate 42B? My husband, Clyde, and his lovely secretary, Tiffany. What are the odds? We're all headed to Dubai. Clearly, the universe wants us to have a little family bonding trip." I winked at the camera, then panned it subtly to capture Clyde's frozen, terrified expression and Tiffany's mortified blush. Hashtags: Dubai bound, spontaneous travel, work-life balance. What are the odds? Just Mallory things. The reactions were immediate. My phone started buzzing with notifications. Clyde was frantically trying to get my attention, hissing, "Mallory, what are you doing?" Tiffany was glued to her phone, probably typing out a frantic SOS message to every contact she had. I just smiled. Oh, just documenting our amazing coincidence, honey. My followers love a good travel story, especially one with such unexpected twists. I continued my travelogue, turning the entire boarding process into a live performance. Okay, so here's a pro tip for all you jet-setters out there, I narrated, my phone pointed at Clyde, who was now attempting to physically block Tiffany from my camera's view. If you're trying to ignore a look of pure desperation from your spouse, don't make eye contact. It's a dead giveaway. Also, attempting to hail a secret Uber XL from a different terminal? Not subtle, Clyde, not subtle at all. Sheldon Pratt, back in Cherry Hills Village, was already on it. My phone buzzed with a comment on my story. Hey, Sheldon the doorman. That's a real train wreck, Mallory. Reminds me of when Mrs. Rodriguez tried to hide her poodle from the HOA. Never works. Sheldon, my man, was becoming my anonymous conscience, narrating the drama from his sofa with insights gleaned from decades of cable TV and neighborhood gossip. The boarding announcement for executive class came, a sweet symphony to my ears. I made sure to walk right behind Clyde and Tiffany, humming a cheerful tune. Oh, look, we're all in executive class. What a treat, I chirped, making sure the flight attendant heard me. Clyde looked like he wanted the ground to swallow him whole, preferably with Tiffany in tow. As we settled into our seats, the full genius of my plan unfolded. Clyde was in 7B, Tiffany in 7C. And me? I was in 7A, right in the middle. The look on Clyde's face when he realized his meticulously planned romantic getaway had been hijacked by his own wife, who was now sandwiched between him and his mistress, was priceless. It was a masterpiece of indignation, a canvas of pure, unadulterated humiliation. My revenge, served cold and at 30,000 feet, was just beginning. And the best part? I was only getting started. The next few hours were going to be a masterclass in awkward silence and passive-aggressive airline food commentary. This was going to be a long flight for them. For me, pure entertainment. The air in the executive class cabin was thick enough to cut with a butter knife, which, ironically, was exactly what I was doing to my in-flight croissant. Clyde, to my right, was attempting to project an aura of profound concentration on his laptop, occasionally shooting Tiffany to my left, a desperate plea for her to play along. Tiffany just nodded vigorously, her eyes still fixed on the endless expanse of blue sky. Of course, honey, I purred. And I'm sure Tiffany's biotechnology background is just invaluable for hedge fund analytics. Perhaps she's developed a new algorithm for predicting market trends based on cellular growth patterns? I paused, then added, or maybe she's just really good at optimizing your coffee runs. Tiffany visibly flinched. Clyde's jaw tightened. This was better than any podcast. I pulled out my phone again, discreetly recording a voice memo. Day 1 of the surprise Dubai trip. Observation. My husband's ability to lie under pressure is inversely proportional to the altitude. Also, Tiffany's sparkle seems to be powered by a rapidly draining battery. The flight attendant, a lovely woman named Fatima, came by to offer more champagne. Everything all right, ma'am? She asked, a hint of amusement in her eyes as she glanced at the three of us. Oh, absolutely, Fatima. Just a little family reunion at 35,000 feet, I chirped. My husband here is so dedicated to his work, he even brings his secretary on his business trips. Such a committed team. Clyde looked like he wanted to jump out of the emergency exit. As the hours passed, I continued my subtle psychological warfare. I'd ask Clyde about his projections for our retirement, then turn to Tiffany and ask if she had any projections for her biotechnology career. I'd offer them shared snacks, forcing their hands to brush. I even started a conversation about the best places to get a divorce lawyer in Colorado, just to spice things up. Clyde kept trying to engage me in mundane conversations about our HOA fees or the leaky faucet in the guest bathroom, anything to avoid the elephant-sized affair sitting between us. Tiffany remained silent, occasionally excusing herself to the restroom for suspiciously long periods. But the real twist wasn't just my presence. It was what I had discovered before I bought the ticket. While Clyde was busy practicing his Burj Khalifa pronunciation, I wasn't just checking Tiffany's Instagram, I was checking Clyde's expense reports and his personal banking statements. See, Clyde, for all his financial wizardry, was surprisingly sloppy when he thought no one was looking. He'd set up a separate, smaller account, ostensibly for personal investments, but it was clearly being used to funnel money for Tiffany. Not just for this trip, but for little gifts, dinners, and even a down payment on a new condo in a trendy part of Denver that Tiffany had recently moved into. He was funding her entire sparkle lifestyle. This wasn't just a fling, it was a financial entanglement. And that, my friends, changed everything. It wasn't just about a broken heart. It was about a calculated breach of trust, a misuse of marital assets, and a blatant disregard for our shared financial future. This was no longer just a spontaneous getaway for me. This was a reconnaissance mission. I wasn't just crashing their party, I was gathering evidence. I leaned back in my seat, a slow, predatory smile spreading across my face. Clyde, oblivious, was now trying to explain the intricacies of derivatives to Tiffany, who looked like she'd rather be anywhere else. He had no idea the extent of my knowledge, or the meticulous plan I had been crafting for weeks, fueled by true crime podcasts and cold coffee. My wellness retreat was about to become a full-blown financial audit, followed by a very public, very satisfying reckoning. The plane began its descent into Dubai, and I felt a thrill that had nothing to do with the exotic destination. This wasn't just about revenge, it was about justice, and I had all the receipts. Literally. Landing in Dubai was like stepping into a different dimension, a shimmering mirage of opulence and excess. For Clyde and Tiffany, it was supposed to be a romantic escape. For me, it was the perfect stage for my grand finale. As we disembarked, I made sure to stay right on their heels. My wife, mom, legend. Hoodie, a beacon of ironic domesticity in the gleaming airport. "Wow, Clyde, look at this place. So much gold," I exclaimed, my voice echoing slightly in the vast terminal. "Are you sure your conference isn't just a lavish vacation with a side of team building?" Clyde just grunted, his face a mask of barely contained fury, while Tiffany scurried ahead, trying to create distance. My plan was simple. Leverage my social media skills, the very ones I used to market vegan serums, to expose Clyde's hypocrisy to his carefully curated world. I wasn't going to yell, scream, or make a scene. I was going to document, and I was going to make it go viral. First stop, the hotel. Clyde had booked a suite at one of Dubai's most exclusive resorts, a place where the tap water probably cost more than my monthly phone bill. "Oh, Clyde, you shouldn't have," I gushed as we checked in. "A suite with 2 bedrooms? How thoughtful. You always did say you valued your personal space, even on business trips." The look on the concierge's face was priceless. Clyde tried to claim I was a last-minute addition to his delegation, but my knowing smile and Tiffany's mortified silence spoke volumes. Over the next few days, I became Clyde and Tiffany's shadow. Every romantic dinner, every business meeting, every tourist trap they tried to visit, I was there. Not overtly, not aggressively, but subtly, omnipresently. I'd appear at the next table at a fancy restaurant, accidentally bump into them at the Dubai Mall, or spontaneously book the same desert safari. And with every encounter, I documented. My Instagram and TikTok feeds became a live, sarcastic commentary on their Dubai adventures. I posted a video titled 10 Ways to Crash Your Husband's Affair in Dubai Without Looking Like a Hot Mess, featuring clips of me subtly photobombing their selfies in front of the Burj Khalifa, or accidentally ordering the same extravagant dish they did at a Michelin-starred restaurant. My captions were pure Mallory. Just enjoying the local culture with my favorite colleagues, Dubai drama, not-so-secret vacation, Shark hedge fund honeymoon. The comments section exploded. Sheldon Pratt, my loyal doorman-turned-internet commentator, was a fan favorite. Sheldon, the doorman. "That Clyde's a real dumpster fire, Mallory. Reminds me of when Mr. Henderson tried to hide his gambling debts from the missus. Ended up losing his boat." His Brooklyn wisdom was resonating with thousands. The real genius came when I started subtly tagging Clyde's hedge fund, Global Capital Solutions. and Tiffany's University, Colorado Institute of Biotechnology, in my posts. Not with accusations, just with innocent-sounding remarks like, "So glad Global Capital Solutions supports such enriching business trips for its employees," or "Tiffany's biotech studies must be really paying off, judging by her luxurious research trip." The consequences were swift and devastating. Clyde's phone, usually a fortress of corporate calls, started buzzing with frantic messages from his partners. His carefully constructed image of a serious, reliable financial analyst began to crack under the relentless public scrutiny. The phrase "conflict of interest" started appearing in comments, then in actual emails to Clyde. His projections were looking grim. Tiffany, whose entire persona was built on her sparkle, found her social media feeds inundated with questions and thinly veiled accusations. Her motivational quotes now seemed hollow. Her good vibes-only posts met with cynical laughter. Her university's student ethics board reportedly received an anonymous tip, definitely not from me, wink wink, about a student using company resources for personal gain. Her biotech dreams were rapidly turning into a nightmare. The final unexpected twist came when I received an email from a major competitor of Clyde's firm. They'd been following my Dubai diaries and were impressed by my unconventional approach to market disruption. They offered me a senior social media strategist position with a significant raise and full creative control. It was poetic justice, served with a side of career advancement. Clyde, defeated and humiliated, ended up cutting his business trip short. He flew back to Denver on the same Emirates flight. But this time, his executive class seat was 7B, and mine was 7A. Tiffany, however, was nowhere to be seen. She'd mysteriously disappeared, probably using her accumulated air miles to fly to a remote island where Wi-Fi was non-existent. Clyde, looking pale and utterly miserable, spent the entire flight squeezed between me and a very large, very loud snoring Mrs. Patel from Omaha, who kept elbowing him in her sleep. His projections for a peaceful flight, much like his career, had completely imploded. My vengeance was complete, and it tasted sweeter than any five-star dessert Dubai had to offer. Back in Cherry Hills Village, the air felt different, fresher somehow. Clyde returned to a professional landscape that had been thoroughly scorched by my viral content. His projections for his career had taken a nosedive, and the whispers in the exclusive country club were louder than the clinking of champagne glasses. He eventually resigned from Global Capital Solutions, citing personal reasons, which, in corporate speak, means got caught with his pants down, literally and figuratively. The Maserati, which was technically ours, became a point of contention in the divorce proceedings. But let's just say I had enough receipts to ensure I drove off with it. Tiffany Rupp. She vanished faster than a free sample at Costco. Her Instagram, once a shrine to her sparkle, went private, then disappeared entirely. I heard through the grapevine, Sheldon, naturally, that she'd transferred universities and was now pursuing a degree in online privacy and digital footprint management. Irony, "Thy name is Tiffany." Her motivational quotes were probably replaced with, "Don't let anyone screenshot your mistakes." As for me, Mallory Goldstein, I wasn't just surviving, I was thriving. My new job was everything I'd dreamed of, challenging, creative, and with a boss who appreciated my unconventional methods. My Dubai diaries had not only secured me a new career, but also a loyal following of women who understood the specific, soul-crushing humor of marital betrayal. I even started a podcast called Karma's a Beach and She Flies Executive Class, where I dissected true crime cases with the same acidic wit I applied to Clyde's downfall. Life, as it turns out, has a twisted sense of humor. I went to Dubai expecting to confront a cheating husband and his secretary. I left with a new career, a viral platform, and a profound understanding that sometimes the best revenge isn't a dramatic confrontation, but a meticulously documented, publicly humiliating exposé delivered with a perfectly sarcastic smile. Clyde, last I heard, was trying to start a consulting firm out of his mother's basement in Ohio, specializing in reputation management for high-net-worth individuals. The irony wasn't lost on me. Sheldon, of course, became a minor internet celebrity himself, his comments on my posts garnering thousands of likes. He even started his own Sheldon's Wisdom segment on my podcast, offering disconnected advice about how they handled things in the Brooklyn of the 80s to a new generation of listeners. Looking back, the whole experience was a masterclass in what happens when you underestimate a woman who spends her evenings listening to true crime podcasts and her mornings meticulously planning her coffee. I didn't become a victim. I became the narrator. I didn't lose my dignity. I found my voice, amplified by thousands of followers. And the best part? I never had to raise my voice. The internet did it for me. So, to all the Clydes and Tiffany's of the world, remember this. Karma doesn't just knock. Sometimes she buys an executive class ticket, sits between you, and live streams your entire downfall. And trust me, the Wi-Fi on Emirates is excellent.